Good evening. It's great to be here. My name is Nik Puri. I am a Senior VP of IT. From my accent, you can guess I am not from around here. I spent 20 years at FedEx, 16 in the US, and the last 4 here in Europe. Actually, I do live only 5 kilometers down the road from here, so welcome to my neighborhood. What I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the journey that FedEx has taken on digital transformation, what has made it successful, why do we think that there is a secret sauce, and what is in our DNA, some of the key buzzwords that Adam talked about. And we will have an interactive session. I will pick on you, especially those sitting at the back, checking your cell phone every 6 minutes. This will be an interactive session, and we'll try to keep it to about 20 minutes. That way, you can get to dessert and then finally get back to your rooms or home or wherever your next destination is. Deal? Yeah. Excellent, excellent. Okay. Before we get into the talk, let's talk about what is this digital transformation. I want to ask the group over here, and yes, I know it's spinning behind me, and I can see that. What is your definition of digital transformation? And I said I'm going to call on the folks at the back. So who's going to take my first question here? This is going to be interactive. Don't speak up together. All right, how about you, sir?
Finding the right balance between the digital and the physical world.
Excellent. Finding the right balance between digital and physical world. Any other takers?
Changing your business down a digital stream. So for me, there are 2 types. You have digital optimization, where you're optimizing an existing business process, and then there's digital transformation, where you're transforming your business to engage in new processes and new products.
This gentleman must have read my presentation. Actually, all these answers are the type of answers I get. I was at a off-site, a CIO retreat about 4 years ago. It was in Quebec City in the month of January. 3 takeaways. Never go to Quebec City in January. It is way too cold. A beautiful city in summer, but in January it is very cold. Second thing that we found out was I struggled with the definition of digital transformation. I didn't know what it was because the answers varied. 4 years ago, there was no real definition. And the definition that the gentleman on the right over here, my right, actually gave comes from Gartner. I actually spoke with the gentleman who wrote the paper from Gartner, who coined the phrase of digital optimization and digital transformation this morning as preparing for this talk. He is going to be here in Gartner's session in March, so if you guys are here, you can listen to him, a British guy named Graham. What we talk about is that a lot of companies, a lot of CIOs, a lot of people like us, we think of digital transformation from the hype as something, it falls in a couple of categories, as something that maybe some marketing company or BCG or some sort of a consulting company has come up with the phrase. Some of my peers say it is work that IT has been doing since the 1960s. This is just another set of new technologies. Why even bother? Today it's AI, ML. Tomorrow it's going to be something else. Why new? What's new over here? Then there are those who say, well, there's cloud, Nick. It is different. There is AI, ML makes things predictive. We never had that capability. That is different. We got to adopt these tools. Otherwise, you will be left behind. I call all of these as digital optimization. If you are applying technology, and FedEx is an applied technology company, we do have some patents, but mostly we buy technology from many of the vendors, and there are quite a few over here. We apply these technologies, we optimize the business. That's not transformation. The very fact, if you are not doing something new, if you are not creating new business value, if you are not creating new things for the customers to adopt, that is not going to be a transformation. To do transformation, you have to modify your business. You have to have new capabilities that you're delivering in the marketplace. That's where we came out and said, to do digital transformation, we have to start differentiating between digital optimization, which is adoption of technology, and digital transformation, which is creating new business, new value and new business revenue streams for our business. Another thing that we realized very early in our journey, which started roughly about 4.5 years ago or so, was we have to put this in perspective. How many of you have heard the phrase Industry 4.0 or Industrial Revolution 4.0? It was coined by, and I'll quote the gentleman here, Professor Klaus Schwab, He is the founder of World Economic Forum. And I had an opportunity to listen to him. And he talks about that if you were a textile company in Britain, where the Industrial Revolution 1.0 started, and you were in the first 10 years of it, would you have predicted all the trends that were taking place 60 years later? That's where we are with digital transformation, very early in Industrial Revolution 4.0. Or if you were an energy company with Industrial Revolution 2.0, would you have predicted the change it will make to the society? Would you have understood in the first 10 years, this thing is still going on. 7% of the world does not have electricity, running electricity all the time. That includes Northern California nowadays. They seem to have a lot of power outage. The point here being, even though we have all grown up in Industrial Revolution 3.0, or at least I have, I'm showing you my age here, we still don't know what all the trends of markets are going to be. That's why I call digital transformation a journey. We don't know that what the last chapter is going to be. We don't know if the last chapter has been written yet, because this Industry 4.0, this next generation of industrial revolution is just starting. So if you think it's about the technology that we know, that came out 4 years ago, or is in a hype curve, it is going to be changing for the next 20 to 30 years. Then the question becomes, how do you create an organization that is not going to be impacted by all the changes that you cannot predict? What do you do as leaders of your organization to get your organization ready that for next 30 to 40 years, where the next chapter is written by you and not written about you? What do you have to do? And that's where, for the last 4 years, we have been trying to answer this question, and it came down to something very fundamental to us. The first thing that it came back to, one slide back, is that in FedEx world, we have a saying that was coined by our chairman. Our founder is still our chairman 40 plus years later. Very few Fortune 100 companies have the privilege of having the founder still work for the company 40 years later. And he said something very profound. In 1978, think how the technology was, what the world was in 1978. He said the information about the package is as important as the package itself. The point there being, there was a statement made earlier, is every company a software company? And we have said, we are going to treat our company, this was in 1978, we're going to invest in technology at the same pace as we invest in the growth of the company. It's a very different model that FedEx has had. And I've had the privilege, being on the IT side, to take the benefit of this. And there are a couple of things we have been doing over the last few years. And the key thing I want to make, the point I want to make here is, we have started shifting our attention from just making investment in technology to investing in, there was a statement made earlier over here, it's where the physical and the used to be logical have started intercepting. So I'm sure all of you have shipped packages with FedEx, UPS, TNT. If not, please try FedEx. And in fact, I want to say thank you to GDS Group, because I was standing outside, and being a FedEx person, every time I see a package with a label on it, I have to see what's in the label. You know, as an IT person, I'm geek about that thing. And those were all FedEx packages. So thank you very much for that, for first of all paying for my dinner, and then for the shoes and the clothes now. But anyway, the point here being, we have started to think of our world as we are no longer going to just invest in technology. We are going to leverage Internet of Things. We are going to leverage all the new technology to reinvent our business. If you were to go and Google, I just did a talk about our bot. We now have a bot in US, and actually it's in Middle East and India as well, called Roxo. You can Google it, that will deliver a package at your doorstep. It is an automated vehicle, an autonomous vehicle. And it will take packages from our store and deliver it to your home. We have drones, but the point here being, we are seriously investing in modifying our business model. One of the things that I usually talk to people about is, in the 5 years ago, when you talked about tracking a package, where things are, you would say, you would go to FedEx.com, you would go to our website, you would make a phone call and say, where's my package? And we'll tell you where it is in the system. With Internet of Things, we now have the ability to tell you not only where the latitude, longitude is, what is the humidity, has the package been opened, is there been any defect to the package? All of these things we've been able to put in a very small chip. This is FedEx. I call ourselves an applied technology company. We have now got more than 100 patents of this new chip that we can put in a packet, and it can tell you everything about the journey. The exhaust from Internet of Things went from having 25 different touch points to 25,000 touch points during the journey of a package. You put all that information into new ways of working, and we can help with all this new technology optimize not our supply chain, not our customer supply chain, but our customer supplier's supply chain. It is about now not just providing new business solution, it's about changing the market, it's about changing the business, it's about changing the ecosystem. That's, in our mind, the definition of transformation. If you are just optimizing your business, that's optimization. If you are changing the ecosystem, that's called transformation in our world. So, how did we go about doing it? And what are the secrets to success? The first one was, how many of you guys have heard about Agile? Team 3, Team 4? You guys have all heard about it. How many of you heard about SAFe? Different scaled Agile framework. All these are new ways of working. The point here being, gone are the days when IT and business are two separate words. I think Adam talked about it earlier. One of the speakers talked about it earlier. These are merging into one word. However, when we take the teams that are successful and the teams that have failed on digital transformation, the things that stand out for us are these things. And you don't have to write these down. You can, all of this is actually on my LinkedIn page because we do talk about this with our own team members. The new way of working requires a new mindset. To be successful in digital, what we are finding is it is about mindset. It is not about technology. There is a little bit of process here, but it's about new mindsets. The teams that are successful tell us all the time that we want to be able to learn fast. I no longer use, these are industry vocabulary, fail fast. I've started calling it learn fast. We have to be able to experiment. We are very comfortable, and this is a very traditional company, more than close to 50 years in existence now, where failure was not taken well. We now experiment, and it's okay for us to fail because you're learning fast, you're fixing it, and you're moving forward. You're always moving forward. So when we talk to our teams, and all this information comes from folks who have made this work, these are not overall just general surveys. We have a process called Sense and Adapt. Every 30, 40 days, we do a survey of our team. We ask them what's working, what's not working. It gives us almost near time, 30 days, feedback as to what's working in the company. This comes back from them of saying, for us to be successful, it's the trait of mindset that is making people successful. So how do you create a mindset? And that's where I had the opportunity of, when I first moved to Europe about 4 years ago, we started having a dialogue about how do we create. We had just acquired a company called TNT. I'm sure you have heard about it. It's very popular, and thank you very much for that in Europe. We started having a dialogue. What sort of culture do you want? For many of us, and even my 16 years in US, culture was given to me. Now I was in a position to define a culture of 42,000 people. And we had a very, very serious talk about what is a deliberate culture versus a culture that emerges. Is it a big C for culture that we want, or is it a small C for culture that just emerges because that's what we accept? And we talked through this. We had a lot of dialogue about this, of saying, if we don't understand what is required to be successful in the business of today, and our strategy is to create Europe's premier logistic company. As part of that, the number 2 item, the first one is we will deliver your package on time. The number 2 item was we will be a digital company. To do that, we all understood that there are certain things that are required. Culture is very purposeful at FedEx. We have spent a lot of money Every one of our employees is expected to walk around and be able to tell you what our cultural values is. Every one of my employees is trained on culture. It is the same training that everybody gets. And there are two attributes that are emerging from an experiment that started 4.5 years ago that are very powerful in differentiating the teams that are working in digital transformation and succeeding versus those which are not. The first one is learning. What we find is, there we go. What we find is, and this is no surprise to anybody, technology is changing very fast. Processes change. Market change even faster. Learning is what we expect all the employees to do. What we are finding is that this attribute is not just applicable to employees. This is more applicable, or as applicable, to management. Our employees are telling us, okay, you have empowered us with a new way of working, agile. We are 100% moving towards that. We are not fully there. We are a good portion of a way of doing all our work in agile way. What they're telling us, if you are empowering us, by a frontline employee closest to the market is making a decision, management has, what made management successful, people like me, was command and control. We are control freaks. You have to let it go. You have to let the frontline employees make the decision. Learning is as applicable now to management of new ways of managing than it was in the past. We now require all our managers to go through the same cultural training and have the same understanding that not only are the employees learning new technology, new process, new ways of working, management is learning new ways of managing. I have a group of 11 or 12 individuals. I got spanked by our HR people because I call them the millennial group. Those are the folks who are right out of college. Each one of them can sit in my chair a few years down the road. They are that brilliant. And when I talk to them about what makes them tick, what makes them come to work, what makes them stay at FedEx and not take another 20,000 job when they take a right turn instead of left next day, it's about culture. It's about that we invest in learning. And the managers of those groups have to be very different. They have to create empowerment. They have to be servant leaders, is what we call, which is they are there to enable the business. They are there to enable the employee and not be a command and control. Learning has turned out to be one of those, not just a cliche of saying we are a learning organization, but the difference between the groups that are always learning, that have this mindset that we will learn, they are able to move faster through the change curve to deliver new value than groups that are slower. The second thing that comes out is caring. And they are the two sides of the same coin in my mind. Caring usually comes about where, because there is so much learning going on, there's so much change going on, people are learning new ways of doing things, new technology, there is anxiety. They are worried that artificial intelligence is going to take their job away. They are worried that they are going to be required to do something that they may not be able to do it. There is a genuine anxiety in our employees. And for us as leaders, for us as managers, it has become very clear that we have to show empathy, but we have to go beyond empathy. Empathy is about understanding the other person's point of view, relating to it. Caring is to do something about it. And we encourage our managers to step back and say, your job is no longer command and control. Your job is not to manage deadlines. Your job is to enable the teams. How do you make sure that the person who's coming to work every day is providing their best? How do you create an environment that they can provide their best? It's all about caring. When we survey our employees of saying, why did you turn down an offer in the market? You were going to be promoted in a different company. You were going to get higher pay. You were going to be closer to your family. Why do you turn it down? And it's because the number one answer they get is, because my manager cares. They never give credit to the leadership team. It's not about senior management. It's about their frontline manager. My manager cared. That's why we use the word caring, because that's the phrase our employees use talking about culture. And this is very different for the companies for the teams that are successful than the teams that are not successful. Managers that are not in a caring mode, but in a command and control mode, they have a very different probability of success than the teams which are in the caring mode. So With that, I'll just summarize some of the key items for all of us. As a leader, the question that I am asked usually is, how do you create this culture of caring and learning? And I'll be honest with you, we started by saying we're going to do webinars, we're going to do video, we're going to do PowerPoint, we are going to get on a webinar and talk to the entire team. That did not work at all. Writing a memo to our employees and say, I care, did not work. The only time it worked is when we started having face-to-face training. The only time it worked is when our managers and directors and vice presidents were sitting with their team members going through cultural training together. That's the only time this started working. So the point I will leave with you over here is that if you have to create a culture, digital transformation is not about adopting technology. It's about transforming the business. To transform the business, you have to take the long view. The last chapter of this journey is going to be written by the next person in your job. It's not there today. You have to create an organization about learning. You have to have a culture about caring. And I'll end with the quote of Dr. Klaus Schwab, which is, technology has been and has always been about people. And I'm always asked about this quote, and I always believe in this because at FedEx, our CIO, my boss, stood up in a meeting and said, if you don't do this, the risk of not taking this journey, the risk of not creating the right culture to the future of the company is higher than the risk of change. Change comes with a risk. It comes with a cost. It comes with a price. That risk, that cost, is lower than if you were to do it the wrong way. So with that, I'll end my presentation. All right.